Karen sued me for noise violations, didn't know I recorded her daily screaming matches. Have you ever wondered how far someone's hypocrisy can stretch before it snaps back in their face? It started with a pounding on my apartment door at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I barely had time to rub the sleep from my eyes when I opened it to find Karen. Yes, that Karen standing there, arms crossed, her face twisted into a scowl. Your music last night was unacceptable, she spat, shoving a piece of paper into my chest. It was a formal complaint, claiming my excessive noise was ruining her life. I was stunned. Me, the guy who works from home, keeps headphones on, and maybe plays soft jazz on weekends? But that wasn't the kicker. By Monday, I was served with a lawsuit. Karen was suing me for noise violations, demanding $5,000 for emotional distress and a court order to gag my so-called racket. Couldn't believe it. This was the same woman whose daily screaming matches with her husband echoed through our thin apartment walls like a bad soap opera. Her voice, shrill and unrelenting, would ricochet down the hallway, ranting about everything from dirty dishes to his uselessness. I'd hear glass shatter, doors slam, and her son pleading for them to stop. And I was the noisy one? The irony was thicker than her self-righteousness. I decided to fight back. I wasn't about to let this entitled bully steamroll me. First, I checked the local noise ordinances. Turns out, our city prohibits unreasonable noise between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., and complaints need proof, like recordings or multiple witness statements. Karen's lawsuit claimed I'd been blasting music late at night, but she had no evidence, just her word. That's when I remembered I'd been recording. Not on purpose, mind you. My home security system, a cheap camera by the door, had a microphone that picked up everything in the hallway. For months, it had captured Karen's meltdowns, time-stamped and crystal clear. I spent hours combing through the footage. There it was, Karen shrieking at 11 p.m. about her husband's poker night, Karen at 1 a.m. hurling insults over a forgotten anniversary, Karen at 6 a.m. berating her son for spilling juice. Dozens of clips, each one a nail in her coffin. But I didn't stop there. I knocked on neighbors' doors, asking if they'd heard anything. Most were hesitant. Nobody wants to tangle with a Karen, but Mrs. Alvarez, a sweet retiree across the hall, was fed up. That woman's voice could wake the dead, she said, agreeing to testify. Then came the twist. Jake, the college kid downstairs, admitted he'd called the cops on Karen twice for noise. He had police reports to prove it. Armed with evidence, I met with my lawyer, a no-nonsense guy named Tom who grinned when he saw my recordings. This is gold, he said. She's about to learn what unreasonable noise really means. We filed a countersuit, accusing Karen of violating the same noise ordinances she'd weaponized against me. We also threw in a claim for harassment, citing her lawsuit as a bad faith attempt to intimidate me. Tom warned me it could get ugly. People like her don't back down easy, he said. He wasn't kidding. The court date loomed, and Karen doubled down. She showed up at my door again, this time with her husband in tow, a defeated-looking man who barely made eye contact. Drop your countersuit, or we'll make your life hell, she hissed. I just smiled and pointed to the camera. Say that again for the record, please. Her face went white, and she stormed off. But she didn't stop. She started posting on the neighborhood Facebook group, painting me as a disruptive tenant who terrorized her family with my constant noise. She even rallied a few sympathizers, mostly other busybodies who'd never met me. The comments stung, but I kept quiet. Tom advised me to save everything for court. Let her dig her own grave, he said. The day of the hearing arrived, and the courtroom buzzed with tension. Karen sat across from me, dressed like she was auditioning for a role as a martyr, clutching a tissue she never used. Her lawyer, a a slick type with too much cologne, presented her case first. He droned on about her suffering, claiming my late-night parties had caused her sleepless nights and anxiety. Karen took the stand, dabbing her dry eyes, swearing I'd been blaring music until 3 a.m. multiple times a week. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for theatrics, raised an eyebrow. "Do you have recordings or witnesses to support this?" she asked. Karen's lawyer stammered, producing only a handwritten log of incidents with no proof. Then it was our turn. Tom stood, calm as a summer day, and played the first recording. Karen's voice filled the courtroom, screeching about her husband's lazy ass at midnight. Gasps rippled through the gallery. We played another clip, then another, each one louder and more unhinged. Karen's face drained of color, her hands gripping the table. Tom called Mrs. Alvarez, who recounted waking up to Karen's tirades. Jake followed, presenting his police reports. The judge's expression hardened as Tom laid out our case. Karen's lawsuit was a sham, her own noise was the real violation, and her harassment had to stop. Karen's lawyer tried to recover, arguing the recordings were invasive and shouldn't be admitted. But Tom was ready. "My client's security system is legal, and the hallway is a public space," he said, citing state law. The judge agreed. Then came the final blow. Tom introduced Karen's Facebook posts, showing her smear campaign against me. The judge leaned forward, her voice icy. "Ms. Thompson, did you post these accusations knowing you had no evidence?" Karen mumbled something incoherent, her composure crumbling. The courtroom fell silent as the judge deliberated. When she spoke, her words were sharp. "Ms. Thompson, your claims lack any credible evidence, and your own behavior violates the very ordinances you accuse the defendant of breaching. This lawsuit appears to be a vindictive attempt to silence a neighbor who dared to stand up to you." She dismissed Karen's case, awarded me $2,000 in damages for harassment, and issued a warning. One more noise complaint against her, and she'd face fines. Karen sat frozen, her husband staring at the floor. As we left the courtroom, I overheard Karen muttering to her lawyer, "This is unfair." But the real justice came later. The apartment manager, who'd been CC'd on the court filings, issued Karen a final noise violation notice. 2 weeks later, I saw a moving truck outside. Word spread that her landlord had refused to renew her lease. Her reign of terror was over. Standing on my balcony that night, I sipped a beer, the silence almost surreal. No screaming, no slamming doors, just the hum of the city. I thought about how close I'd come to letting her bully me into submission. But fighting back with truth and evidence had turned the tables. It wasn't just about winning. It was about showing that people like Karen can't always get away with their entitlement. What do you think? Was Karen's downfall fair? Or did she deserve a chance to change? Share your thoughts. Have you ever dealt with a neighbor like this?